Morning. If we could get everybody to take their seats, we'll go ahead and start our meeting this morning, particularly since we've got another session to go to after our meeting. You won't have any trouble making it because we're going to be brief this morning. So, my name is Mike Fox, and I'm the chairman of the North Carolina Board of Transportation, and I'd like to welcome everyone to our January business meeting. We've got a number of guests and visitors. Welcome. You're always welcome to come to our board meetings. Come back anytime. Usually they're over in the transportation building, and we usually have more presentations going on with them. Today, this will be more of a strictly business meeting, but obviously our summit here has taken the place of our normal presentations. So, speaking briefly on that, from the feedback that I've gotten yesterday and from what I personally saw, we've had a tremendous success. There's been a lot of great information presented, a lot of people sharing ideas and talking about things that they heard and learned, and the attendance was incredible. I think we were expecting maybe 750 to 800 people, and we had 100 people register at the door yesterday morning, so we're well over 1,000. So I think the response and the turnout has been good, and we're looking forward to another day today of great presentations. My secretary and I yesterday during the breakout session, we were kind of hopping from breakout to breakout, and I think our only regret was we could not be in 4 places at one time. So I'm glad Ann has told me that we are videoing all of those, so we'll make those available. So if there was one that you wanted to see that you didn't get a chance to get to, that'll be on our website eventually. But thank you all. Thank our board members for your attendance and your participation. I know many of you have led panels or are going to lead panels today, but you being here is important because we're the policy-making board for the State Department of Transportation, and that's what the last two, yesterday and today, are all about, are policy decisions. So coming and informing yourself and talking to other policymakers. We've got a number of mayors and city council folks and city managers and county managers and MPO and RPO officials are here, and so we've had a number of great conversations with those folks, and having that interaction will lead North Carolina to a better transportation future. So thank you for that. All right, we've got a quorum. Do we have anybody that's called in? Okay, so nobody's on the phone. So thank you all for being here. There's no need to go through a roll call. I'm going to start with the non-conflict ethics statement. In accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, Executive Order Number 2, issued on January 12, 2009, and NCGS Section 143B-350, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearances of conflict. To comply with this statement and the state ethics law, I ask whether any board member has a known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before the board today. If so, please identify the conflict or appearance of conflict when the item appears on the agenda for consideration. Refrain from any undue participation in the particular matter involved, and sign before our notary the declaration that has been provided to you for such a purpose. As usual, when we get to the action items where we vote, I'll give every board member an opportunity to go through individual conflicts if you have any. Next topic is the consideration of the December 6, 2018 meeting minutes. I know you were all provided a copy of them. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes that need to be made to those minutes? Sensing none, is there a motion for approval?
Motion approved.
Motion by Andy, second by Jack. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. All right, our next section is our information section of our meeting. I would note for the record that items C, D, E, H, and L are delegated to the secretary and require no formal action by the board. I do note that on item C, all bids were rejected for the project on page 2 of 11, and the remaining projects were awarded by the secretary to the low bidder. The next topic is the product evaluation program awareness information. That's been provided to you at your seats, so please take a look at that. And if you have any questions, the value management staff can answer those for you, and thank them for their work in putting this information together. The next item is the distribution of the draft STIP, which all of you should have one at your place, and there are additional copies I noticed that Van has in the back if anyone needs one. Hopefully this is not a surprise to anyone since we've been talking about it for months, but this is the result of a lot of work from a lot of people all across the state, and this is the draft that will go out for public comment and review, and then we'll see it again sometime. Van, are we thinking come back maybe June, July? Is that? June. Our June meeting will be considering for final approval. So take a look at it and make sure that folks in your community are aware of it and can review it. And if there are any comments, then obviously we'll be glad to look at those. And then, by the way, Van, thank you and your staff and David and his staff for all the work on this. I know there's a lot goes into that little book, so thank you. An additional item of information, the Road Naming Committee has worked to update the road naming policy. Copies of the updated policy as well as a summary of the changes are at your seats. Ann will be emailing those items to you as well as a version where you can see what's changed, and then this is something we'll consider for approval with the full board in our February meeting. So if you would just take a moment to review that change when you get a second. All right, our next section is the action item section and the approval of projects. Are there any board members who have any recusals or conflicts? Tony?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got several on item O, page 12. It's item U5828, page 9. Item R5865, page 8. Item C5531. Then several others. Item I1 on page 17, not numbered, several with Monarch. R14, Moorhead Street Investors Project. R12, Project 8.1500602. And finally, item I1, page 6, is Project 20-RS901A. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Anyone else have any conflicts? Landon?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. In abundance of caution, also with the change of venue, I don't have the items in front of me, so instead of having to be determined list, I'll just, seems like we have a quorum here, I'll recuse myself from items G through T.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any conflicts? Okay, and if you would, just make sure that gets in our written record, Tony and Landon. All right, is there any discussion related to any of the project items this month? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve. All right, so motion by Hugh, second by Cully. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. All right. Closing comments. If I could ask Julie White, our Deputy Secretary for Intermodal, to come up. She's got a personnel announcement. She's an organization announcement she's going to make.
We wanted to be sure and share with you all an exciting new initiative that we are launching. First, I will share with you that Debbie Collins, our Public Transportation Director, has retired, and we really appreciate her public service to the department. She was with us for many years and did great work. But that retirement allows us an opportunity to reflect on the changing mobility. Yesterday was really inspirational for thinking about how the future looks really different My rail team came out of the Hyperloop conversation and said, let's buy the land going to Richmond. Let's put a Hyperloop on that land. So everybody's thinking really new and differently. We heard a lot about scooters. We heard a lot about Uber. And so the way that people move is changing. And as I reflected on that, I thought that every public transportation trip begins and ends with a pedestrian or a bicycle trip. If you're going to get to the bus stop, you have to get there somehow on your feet or on your bike. And yet we're planning for these things separately and in two different modes. And so we are going to start a multi-month process to merge the bike and pedestrian division and the public transportation division, and not just merge two silos into one, but really re-envision that entire division. We don't have a name for it yet. We want to do a really big public input process with our stakeholders and with our staff and with you all to think about what does this new shop of mobility look like. We are excited to have our rural initiative have a focus in this shop. As you know, the Governor's Hometown Strong initiative is something very important to us all, and the Secretary has challenged us to do more for our rural communities. So this shop will focus on how do we bring those mid-sized downtowns back to their vibrancy that they once had, and how can multimodalism be a spark and a part of that happening. We will focus on that intersection of transportation and economic development. So we have a lot of work to do to think about what this new shop looks like. But to lead that interim effort, we are naming Hannah Cockburn, our Bike and Ped Director, to be the interim director over public transportation as well. And she will oversee that. Hannah, so you can stand up, make sure everybody knows Hannah. She has done an outstanding job in the last year for us, managing the Bike and Ped division. And it was such a compliment when I shared this with someone in the department when they said, well, we have known Julie since Hannah was here 2 weeks, that she was more talented than just leading the Bike and Ped shop. So I think this is a wonderful fit of her talent. And so please, if you have thoughts and ideas, share them with Hannah, but we also will create a more formal process where you all can speak with us about your thoughts on how we can serve our communities better. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Julie.
And as a testament to how good Hannah is, to back up what Julie says, they're still mad at me in Greensboro for us hiring Hannah. So they give me grief every time I see them. Just a reminder that our Transportation Summit continues today. The next session begins at 9. Our next board meeting will be in Raleigh in the normal place in the boardroom, February 6th and 7th. Are there any other items for consideration or discussion that we need to consider here today? Cully?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not to prolong the meeting, but one of the things that I always found when I was working and we did new projects was we pretty quickly afterwards did sort of a post-analysis, what worked well and what didn't work well and what would you recommend. I wonder if there's any benefit in sort of giving the board an opportunity to provide some input based on our observations of what really sort of flowed well and worked well and maybe where we need to, because I'm assuming that this is going to become an annual event.
I think that's Jim's fear.
And sort of, share that information. So
I think that's an excellent idea, and I know we are looking at doing this again. We're not sure, whether we're going to do it annually or biannually, but I think that's a great idea. And if you could work with the board in terms of getting, send out an email to get some input, and then we'll make sure that gets passed along to the secretary and the folks that did the actual planning. So, anything else? All right. Well, I was looking for a record. I don't know that I made it, but we've got to be pretty brief. Well, with that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn. All right, motion by Billy, second by Andy. All in favor say aye. All right, that's approved unanimously.